let's dive a bit into your background. So you went to RPI.
Yeah.
What did you study?
So I initially went to RPI trying to study architectural engineering, and I couldn't get into the architecture school because they wanted like an art portfolio, and
Okay.
I was just like, I ain't got nothing.
Yeah.
But I had a class in high school called residential structures that was like led by like this like architect slash construction guy, and so I had built like a house, like the size of like dining room table.
Mhm.
I built a couple of them, and I was like, this was kind of fun. And so I ended up trying to do that at RPI, but they were like, nah, but you can do these engineering courses though. And so I was just like, all right, bet. But then I was like, I'm terrible at like the computational side of physics. So I was just like, nah, I probably should figure out something else. So I ended up in this program called Electronic Media Arts and Communications. And it was kind of like a catch all for like all things design related.
Yeah.
And so it was like design, programming, marketing, advertising, photography, game development, all that kind of stuff. And I ended up just kind of like focusing in on marketing and advertising, just because I just like my grandmother like was like our family photographer, so cameras were just like in my like world, and so I just kind of gravitated towards that kind of thing.
Okay. Awesome. So I've actually been to a few of your events, and I can say every time I've gone, I've had a great time. Whether it was your New Year's get together that you threw, whether it was the artists that you guys kind of curate together, those performances were always a great time. What others have I missed? Like, what else do you
Oh
have?
man, yeah, no, like we consistently and always have always done events. Like since we founded in 2017, but like doing events was always like the way we did marketing almost
Mm-hmm.
because like we again, it was like that community building thing where we always found value in just being around one another. And so, like, we've done Christmas parties and New Year's parties and like all types of stuff. Now, a lot of showcases and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's been like our like saving grace almost because even just like how we get our marketing clients has always been around like our ability to bring people together and then like people have a good time, like, oh man, I had this really good connection or something like
Yeah.
that. And so then when they leave, when they're in other environments, they're just like, oh, someone needs video, and they were like, oh, collective effort, someone should reach out to them,
Mm.
and we'll get like a phone call from like a client that was like, hey, yeah, no, we were in some place and someone mentioned you guys' name, or like someone would like literally bring somebody to us, walk right through the door.
Yeah.
So we've always like invested in doing events because of like one, it helps us do the business stuff, which pays for all the stuff.
Hmm.
But then realistically, it's like the foundation of who we are is like trying to like bring artists together, bring cool people together. I mean, not even just artists, but like everybody in general. Our first kickoff party for like the launch of our like co-working, kind of like aspects of our business back in 2020.
Hmm.
Um, that was like 400, 500 people almost. And it was like everybody from like CEOs and CFOs to like some of the biggest organizations all the way down to like rappers, like
That's
everything.
dope.
Like it was, we had like the entire kind of like, rainbow of people,
Yeah.
Um, and that was like one of like the, I guess, like our superpowers that we know how to speak all the languages. And so because of that, anybody that's even remotely interested in like trying to like talk to people that aren't like themselves,
Mhm.
me and maybe even so like themselves, but like, you know, they tend to gravitate towards us, and yeah, we have fun with it.
That's awesome, especially when you, like you were saying, you can reach all different type of demographics,
Hmm.
and then you can kind of have an audience that's somewhat of like a melting pot.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's been great. People like to talk to us. We like to talk to people most of the time. So
Right.
yeah.
Um. So when do you feel, if you, or maybe you feel this way already, that you feel like you really have left an imprint in the community, or do you already feel that way, or is there a certain type of vision that you're trying to reach when you can say that?
Yeah, I mean, like we I think we keep going because people like keep affirming the stuff we've done,
Hmm.
and like we'll share stories about how important or impactful they believe us to be. It definitely helps me get out of bed in the morning, on like those days when you're just like, man, I'm hurting right now.
Right.
I am fueled by like hearing someone's story. Like right now, there's a theater company across the street at Kickback Studios. They're gonna be doing a run of shows there, and like they're struggling, always trying to find space. And like this particular performance is like all black, with black director, all that. And like they were just like, man, like we'd known them from years and years and years before, and just like they were really kept telling you like how much of a full circle moment it was, from like us knowing them from like 2017 when we first started to like now, and all the struggles that they've gone through. Um, them being like, man, we get to come here and like be free essentially, and not have to deal with like crazy landlords or, all these kinds of things. And just trying to like make some art, right? So like on that aspect is like very helpful. But then in terms of like, grand scale, like we just like kind of like just barely scratching the surface for what we're actually trying to accomplish. Was a large part of like what we're building and trying to create capacity for is like this idea, like just like true, genuine sustainability, and like how do you try to get people to like stay and own things, right? And I think it's always been the missing like key to when creators create this culture. Gentrifiers come in, developers come in, they get all the money to like create all these living environments and all these kinds of stuff, but that usually only is appealing to, young professionals from somewhere outside of this place.
Yeah.
And so when we're talking about like what success, I guess, looks like for us, is just like how many people can we like turn into owners through like experiencing anything that we've created, which we're barely there yet. But Kickback is a good example of like how close, where how much progress I guess we've made. Like there's one, two, three, there's about 8 companies in there, 6, 8 companies, different companies
wow.
in there right now. That are now in downtown Troy, that weren't at the start of this year. So that's,
There's definitely a lot to be proud of.
I appreciate it, man. It's like, we got to keep reminding ourselves that it's like, it's like,
I mean,
it's 8, but like, it's like, it's only 8, but like, it's
like,
8,
it's 8,
it's 8. Like, and that's like a 100% increase.
For real, like what number are you trying to reach?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't know.
I get it.
Though. We have this weird thing of just like, what would it be like if like 15% of the workforce in this area was like independent, like they were like, oh, we're like out here doing our own thing and we can sustain doing ourselves, and that requires like them actually having like, a good business environment to engage with, but also like ownership over some kind of thing too, right? Like, we talk about space all the time as like one of the huge key factors in like our success. That's why we try to create spaces like literally and like emotionally, it's huge, so, I'm just like, I don't know if that 15% is like a real or attainable or whatever, but like we like read a few things and we were like, okay, 15%, maybe that's like a good like aiming point of like how do you convert some of the workforce, into being independent. So yeah, I don't know. We're trying to still figure that out, but
that's a dope goal.
Thank you, man.
To segue a little bit back when you talked about the whole idea of independence, which I'm all for. I think, especially with everything that's been going on in California, like with the writers' strike and people working themselves to death for other big companies and not really getting much in return. And that's what I really appreciate about you guys as well. Like, you're not just here for a good time; you're also here to educate people and to like give people some sense of structure. And aside from like all the events and parties that you guys got going on, you also have mentorships. If you could go a little more in depth into those.
Yeah, I mean, like they're kind of more informal than anything. It's kind of just like people pull up on us and just like ask a bunch of questions.
Okay.
And that kind of thing. Like some of us, like people that they're like creatives that are like, yo, I'm really trying to do this thing, and like maybe they have like a brand of their own or something like that, and we bring them as collaborators, and that's like the most like formalized like mentorship kind of thing we do. For instance, like Jonesy, Chandel Jones, runs a brand called Just Create, and I had met her a couple of years ago. She was just trying to like, I want to learn how to DJ, but she also was like doing content and events and all these kinds of things. She's a really good designer, like producer. And so, yeah, like, that has evolved into like I kind of like, work with her, like mentor her, trying to like teach her stuff. But realistically, it's just like through like collaborating, she's building her own brand and then like learning things through working with us on like how to develop herself. And that's kind of like the most formal thing we do. But like kind of is like mad informal. People just come knocking to like, hey, y'all free? Can I just like cop a squat for today and ask some questions, or just like be here working next to y'all and shit? So, um, yeah, there's a bunch of different kinds of things. But say, it's just like again, it's one of the important pieces of like what has made us work is by being open.
Yeah.
Like like quite literally, like people just barge in the door half the time.
Yeah.
Just being open to being here for folks, because usually we, in our experience, it wasn't that many people that were just like open to sharing about like how to do the things with us, and so we've been like really intentional about trying to do that for folks.
Okay. Um, for my next question, if you had to describe what the aura of Upstate is to you,
Mm.
to an individual who's never been anywhere near Upstate, how would you describe it?
The aura of Upstate, I would say, the aura of Upstate is like really like experimental and like fertile, right? It's like you can grow things here that you might not be able to grow in other places.
Fertile's a good.
Yeah, I mean, it's nature and shit.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah.
all that kind of stuff. So like, it is really that. Like a lot of people that I went to school with, they're like, "Why are you still here?" I'm just like, "Cause I can kind of like do anything. Like I'm 33, and like I have like two spaces in the downtown, and like I got mad access to like anything and everything, and I can call pretty much anybody. If I work, a little bit hard, I can pretty much contact anybody in this area. So." It's a really nice like testing ground and proving ground for stuff, just to like develop yourself into something, and this could be, people's permanent home. And there are huge like, logistics and manufacturing and tech companies that are right here as well. In Troy alone, there's like 4 video game design studios that are making huge, global titles,
You never would have thought.
and you would never think to
No.
like, oh, is it just right here in Troy? But I also do know somebody that has a really great answer to this question too, which is Jamel over in the background. So this could be a good transition moment for Jamel to hop in and give his take.
Round of applause for Jamel. Thank you, Patrick.
No doubt.
Good. Am I looking at you?
You can look at me. You can look at the camera. You can look outside. Whatever you're most comfortable with.
It's good, man.
Not much. Not much. You're also a member of Collective Effort,
Yeah, absolutely. A founding member.
a founding member.
Vice president of marketing and sales here.
Okay. Can you dive a little bit deeper into what it is that you do?
What is it? A lot of times it's like literally being the face. It's literally like being out there in the world, especially since some of our, Pat doesn't want to always be outside, so
Understandable.
it's cool to have someone who's really outside, you know what I mean? So like, I'm a DJ, I am also a filmmaker and photographer, much like Pat, but in a sense, like, I'm just a people person.
Yeah.
I'm a person who likes to talk and have conversations and be outside and chill and support and have the hands-on part of what community building looks like, where a lot of times Pat is doing the behind-the-scenes work of community building. I'm out there, helping some of our other co-founders who started Power Breakfast Club when we were doing 6:30 in the morning, Tuesday mornings, with like a community-led, peer kind of empowerment, entrepreneurial, like community building group. These are the types of things that we're doing, and that we want to continue to do.
That's
So I'm
awesome.
just out there.
You just out there. So you kind of seem to be a jack of all trades, as everyone in your group seems to be. So out of all those, what would you say your passion is? What would you say you're most passionate about?
I am most passionate about our purpose, which is providing space for people who are like us, or people where we've seen, we recognize that there is, kind of pitfalls in just being a person out here trying to live and survive and thrive.
Like not only financially but creatively as well.
Financially, creatively, trying to navigate the world in a safe way.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we don't even just always feel welcome in a space. Being an artist,
Mm-hmm.
being a person who isn't easily defined by the constructs of whatever society we're living in,
Right.
being a young Black person, um, to be able to make those spaces for us and for people who look, sound, and do the things that we do, um, through different things, through DJing, through events, through filmmaking and photography, through our social media presence. That's what gives us the most purpose, or that's what makes me the most happy. That's what I'm most passionate about. So it's not whatever vessel that is. The vessel is the vessel. If it's a photo or if it's a DJ set, I have to do it all. Or if it's making coffee,
Yeah.
you know. So I have a coffee business also.
Oh, you have a coffee business. Is it coffee brew? Is that what?
Cold brew.
Cold brew?
So Upstate's cold brew.
Okay. And how'd you go about starting that?
Um, Much like I start most of the things, or it was like, all right, this is something we're passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
How can we be really good at it? But then how can we also incorporate our people into it? And how can we incorporate um, creativity into it?
Right.
Um, yeah, that's kind of how that started.
And if someone wanted to get a cup, how would they do about doing so?
So we make a concentrate, and the concentrate we do, it's a 14-hour cold brew made from organic Honduran beans. It's a medium brew, or a medium roast, roasted a touch past medium. So, and the way to get it is to go on our website or go on our Instagram, or we're at the Troy Farmers Market right in front of here at 15th Street, Troy.
And what is that website?
UpstatesColdBrew.com.
Okay. Little promotion.
Little promo.
Okay. How about out of all the events that you guys have planned, which one has been your favorite and why?
To the showcases, the music showcases that we've been having have been really incredible. Jonesy has been doing a great job at those. And the reason why I love those so much is because you'll see everyone from a very seasoned artist who has been doing shows for years, and you know, they rehearse and they've done the collaborations and they've been all over the region, or maybe some of them all over the country, to someone who is, it might be their first performance, and you know, they might not even know how to hold a mic correctly, but they're there right next to people who may be professional artists, and they have the chance to converse together. And it's like such a non-judgmental space that is being built right across the street, and it aligns perfectly with almost everything that we're doing. You know, there's like this mentorship piece, but then there's also this piece of that you can learn something from everyone that you come into contact with.
That's very true.
Yeah.
That's very true. Yeah, like I was telling Patrick, definitely just about every single event that I've gone to, I've met someone that's been a great connect. I've learned a lot. I've always felt very welcome. It always felt like a safe space, and I'm among a lot of other people. I'm very thankful that you guys started this, and I'm always excited for more events to come to. And I definitely always tell people about you guys.
We appreciate that for sure. And I love the work that you've done with us too, man. It was dope because like that was something, the animation you did, right?
Yeah.
That was something where I'm also the kind of space I hold inside of Collective Effort. It's just like an ideas person.
Mhm.
So a lot of times I can visualize something even if I'm not like a part of the design.
Yeah.
Like the initial idea of what that animation was going to be was something that I saw and was just like, oh, it's coming up here, and then like we're going through the streets, and then you can see it to the right, and then you can see it to the left, and then like for you to make that happen, like just hand drawn was really dope. So I appreciate that.
Of course, of course. It was definitely a challenge because typically in terms of like animation or filmmaking, my focus is on the character, but for that project, my focus had to be on the environment, which was something new. But I definitely learned a lot from it, and you know how life works. At some point, I'll probably be working on a project where the environment is my focus again, and I'll be able to look back on the project I worked for you guys and be like, "This, I got this."
Word, run that clip.
Come to a collective effort event. Thank you so much for the time to be a part of the second episode. Thank you for our conversation to both you guys. And that'll do it.
So you're gonna run the animation when I say run that clip, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Gotcha.